What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden J here. What is going on, everyone? I hope everyone is doing extremely well. I am most certainly doing well on this evening. So, yeah, we got a ton of, decent stuff to talk about in today's stream. But yeah, before we get into that, please, everyone, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, and all of that great stuff. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. If you're new to the channel, drop a comment. Regardless, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please drop them, and I will go into them after my usual rant on the stream. But in today's live stream, we are going to be going over the New York Mets and the Washington Nationals series summary, recapping the good, the bad, and the ugly, what went good and what went bad for the Mets in that series. So 4-game set, the Mets were fortunate enough to take 2-2. You know, not ideal, but it is what it is. And then, of course, we will be previewing the Mets and Tampa Bay Rays series, which starts tonight, a 3-game set. So we will be going over that. And then, of course, your guys' comments, questions, and concerns. And also, we are definitely going to be talking about the future of a lot of the Mets coaching staff and front office. We know that guys like Billy Epler and, some of the Mets coaching staff, Jeremy Barnes, Jeremy Hefner, are certainly on the hot seat. So we're kind of going to be going over that. And really the Mets struggles, because this team still lately has really been struggling a lot. And it is very, very frustrating. So we are going to be going over that. But yeah, let's stop wasting any more time and dive into it. Like I said, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. But yeah, let's get into it. So the New York Mets played a 4-game series against the Washington Nationals in D.C. Expectations were somewhat high. Obviously, a lot of Mets fans were upset, hoping to take 4 or 3. But fortunately, they could not get the job done. Getting into it, game 1, which was Friday's game, the New York Mets were fortunate enough to win this game 3-2. It was definitely a really tight and nerve-wracking ball game. Obviously, the New York Mets, as stated, won this game by a score of 3-2. You had Tyler McGill on the mound, and McGill didn't look horrible, but he wasn't dominant. He went 5 innings, giving up 4 runs, 4 hits, a run, 4 walks, and 4 strikeouts. 93 pitches with 53 of those in the strike zone. So not a great outing from McGill, but it wasn't a horrible outing. His velocity looked pretty decent. His stride is something that he has changed up a lot this season, and that's resulted in less velocity. The break on a lot of his pitches don't look as sharp. The slider looks okay. Fastball was decent. Command of the zone, once again, kind of struggled a little bit. Kind of the thing that we've seen with McGill and this whole Mets pitching staff is they have a hard time settling in, and then, the second and third inning comes and they really start to settle in. So McGill got the win. His offense backed him up. Not a horrible start for him. The bullpen came in. The bullpen dominated. Jeff Brigham came in for an inning, 13 pitches, pounded the strike zone. He looked very, very impressive. Brigham could definitely be an important guy for this Mets bullpen. Obviously, Adam Ottavino came in for an inning, struck out 1. David Robertson came in for an inning and 2/3. Buck Showalter trying to get him to have the back-to-back innings and get that 2-inning save, and didn't go as planned, of course. He went an inning and 2/3, giving up 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. So, it's a concern when you see your reliever who's, near 40 years old pitching 2 innings. In May, that's definitely something that the Mets are going to have to address. And then you had Drew Smith that came in to face 1 batter and struck him out. 4 pitches, 3 of those were strikes. So good to see Drew Smith in a high leverage situation really come in to clutch. That's something where Drew Smith, the numbers don't like him in high leverage situations. So really good to see Drew Smith come out there in a high leverage situation. That was certainly needed. So yeah, good to see that. The Mets pitching staff did their job. The Mets offense wasn't great, but it got the job done as stated. They got 3 runs, 10 hits. Obviously, the only run creation was in the 6th inning. You had bases loaded, 2 outs, full count. Lindor up at bat, and what did he do? He put the bat on the ball, and he had a 3-run RBI single to center to bring in Beatty, Canna, and Nimmo. And Lindor advanced to second on the throw to home. Obviously, great running by Nimmo. Tip of the cap to him. He was hustling down the line, and he was running around the bases, and he scored. So good to see the Mets obviously winning this game 3-2. Tyler McGill with his fourth win on the season. And then, of course, Drew Smith with his first ever save. So nice little thing to see out of Drew Smith. So as stated, the Mets win this ball game by a score of 3-2. Coming into game 2, tables turned. The Mets lost this game by a score of 3-2. Obviously, you had Joey Lucchesi come in for 2 innings, giving up 4 hits, a run, and a walk. Obviously, this game was a pure disaster. Lucchesi started this game, and you're probably thinking to yourself, well, hey, what the heck is going on? Why did Lucchesi only go 2 innings? Fortunately, there was a rainout. Game should have arguably not have been played. There was a rainout, and it was postponed the next day, and yeah, it was a stupid game. Should have never even happened, in my opinion. But yeah, Lucchesi came in, game got rained out, postponed the next day. Fans sat in the ballpark for like 5 hours, and then they just, postponed it or suspended it till the next day. So starting in the next day, Steven Negosa came in, 3 innings, 2 hits, a run, a walk, 2 strikeouts. Not a bad start for him. Leon came in, 2 innings, 3 hits, a run. Once again, it comes into question is why is Leon coming in for 2 innings? He came in for an inning, got out of it clean. Dominic Leon came in for the 2nd inning after complaining a couple days before that he was feeling some pain in his shoulder. Why does Buck Showalter continue to push his relievers multiple innings? And I understand why, but in a situation like this where Leon is complaining that he is hurt and you push him out there, I mean, do I need to explain why? And then Dennis Santana came in an inning, a hit, and a strikeout. So, obviously the pitching did pretty well. 3 runs. That's exceptional. What really let down is the offense. Obviously, you scored 2 runs on 11 hits. That's a joke. Getting things started in the 3rd inning, Brandon Nimmo had a sacrifice fly to right to bring in Daniel Vogelbach. And then in the 7th inning, Jeff McNeil had a sac fly to center to bring in Michael Perez. Obviously, a joke of an offense. Really. I mean, not a good day offensively. I mean, the only good guys that had a good day, Michael Perez went 4 for 4. Beatty went 2 for 4. Nimmo went 2 for 4. Otherwise, everyone else, Lindor 0 for 4. Alonso 1 for 4. Guillorme 0 for 4. Why the fuck is Guillorme in the lineup? Explain to me. Guillorme provides nothing, and we're going to get into that later in the stream. This was a ball game that was easily winnable. Easily. The countless times you stranded guys with runners in scoring position absolutely sucked. And the Mets, they played like shit this game. Pitching held down the fort, but the offense just didn't want to do anything. So, Mets lost the game 3-2. Leon gets the L. Coming into game 3, the Mets actually remember how to play baseball and score runs and pitch well. Mad Max Scherzer was on the bump for Mother's Day. 5 innings, 2 hits, a run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Scherzer looked pretty good. Obviously, in the beginning, a little bit of hard time with the zone, but then really found it later on in the game. A couple things to notice. His velocity was up more than usual in the past starts of the season, so that's definitely a good sign to see from Scherzer. His fastball looked good. His slider looked good. Like I said, command of the zone looked good. He was getting a decent amount of swinging and misses, and when the Nationals were hitting the ball, it was a lot of light contact and ground balls. So that's what you like to see from Max Scherzer. So, not an amazing outing, but definitely an outing that the Mets needed from one of their aces. 83 pitches, 50 of those were in the strike zone, lowered his ERA. So that's really important to see from Max Scherzer. Definitely a big confidence booster. We know he's had a rocky season. Good opening day, good Padres series. 2 rough starts after that, got suspended, came back, horrible start in Detroit, and then had this start. So, hopefully Scherzer, like I said, Scherzer's going to be very important for this Mets team and this rotation down the line. And, is Scherzer quite what he was, a couple of years ago? No. But if Scherzer can go out there and, give me what he did last year, 75% of it, I'll take it. So, yeah, we're going to have to see how things really can go on with Max Scherzer. He's definitely going to need to step it up and continue. Obviously, the bullpen came in and did pretty good. Brooks Raley came in for an inning, walked 3, struck out 1, got into a jam, but was able to get out of it. Jeff Brigham, an inning, a hit, 2 strikeouts. And then making his Mets debut, Zach McHernanrin. That's somehow you pronounce his last name. Obviously, he got the MLB call-up for the Mets today. He obviously, with the doubleheader, as you could say, he was the extra man on the roster. Not the best start. 2 innings, 4 hits, a run, a walk, 2 strikeouts. So the Mets had a good enough lead where they felt they were comfortable putting him in there. So yeah, Mets pitching staff did a pretty good job. 2 runs, 7 hits. The offense is really where they broke out. 8 runs, 10 hits. That's what you like to see. Obviously, getting things started. The 5th inning, you scored 8 runs in the 5th inning. Obviously, getting things started in the 5th inning, Mark Canha had an RBI double to left to bring in Starling Marte. Brandon Nimmo had an RBI single to center to bring in Mark Canha. Francisco Lindor had an RBI single to bring in Tommy Pham. A couple at bats later, Brett Beatty had an RBI walk to bring in Brandon Nimmo. A couple at bats later, Starling Marte had an RBI single, a 2-run RBI single to bring in Alonso Lindor. And then Marte obviously stole on second to make Brett Beatty score because there was a pass ball. And then for the final run of this 8-run inning, Mark Canha had an RBI single to center to bring in Marte. So you see the Mets batted around. Very impressive. I want to say 6 of these runs were scored with 2 outs. And that's what this old Mets team did last year. And it's good to see guys like Canha, Marte in the column of those names that were driving in runs and producing. Where did this team go? That's what I like to see. And they couldn't do it the day after. Obviously, a great day from Mark Canha going 3 for 4. Marte 2 for 4. Nimmo 2 for 4. Lindor 2 for 4 or 2 for 5. Alonso had 2 walks. Otherwise, that's really it. Pham 0 for 3. Big surprise there. Why does Tommy Pham start in this lineup? I really don't know. I really don't know. So yeah, I mean, we're really gonna have to see how that can go for them down the line. But Mets win this game by a score of 8-2. Scherzer with his 3rd win on the season. Getting into the 4th and final game of this 4-game series, the Mets decided to forget how to play baseball, and they lost this game by a score of 10-3. And who was on the mound? Our best friend, David Peterson, who sucks fucking ass, came in. And what did David Peterson do? He did what he does best, and he gives up runs and makes the fucking game out of control for the Mets. 5 innings, 9 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. What a horrible start for David Peterson. First pitch of the game, a hard hit double up the gap. And then as soon as that happened, I said, yep, Mets are going to lose. David Peterson looked horrible. He looked like he was throwing BP. No way to put it. His command looked crappy. I mean, every pitch that was in the strike zone was a hit or a ground ball, or it resulted in an out, but it was a hit. Slider looked pretty mid. Fastball looked mid. This dude is not an MLB pitcher. He should not be here. I am glad the Mets put him back in AAA, and they called up Josh Walker. That was definitely a need. Josh Walker, I definitely think, is a good arm. He got injured a couple years ago, so he's definitely recovering from that, but I think he'll hopefully be a little bit better than David Peterson in this case. Peterson looked pretty horrible. Why did Buck Showalter put him in for that 5th inning? I really don't know. He should have been taken out after the 3rd, but, we've been seeing the Mets pitching staff and, of course, David Peterson only going 3 innings, 4 innings, and then the bullpen gets taxed and fried, and, it's May 16th, and we're already talking about that. So, yeah, I mean, once again, David Peterson giving the Mets no opportunity to play. They were always down. Tommy Hunter came in, and he didn't do much better. 3 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 2 strikeouts. So you had the Mets pitching, the 2 guys that pitched this day pitched like shit. And 2 of these guys, David Peterson, I hope does not make any more starts this season. He is absolutely horrible. I do not want to see him start a single game for this Mets team ever again this season. Would much rather see Jose Butto or Josh Walker start. I am done with Peterson. He's 1-6 on the season, but when the Mets played him, they're 1-8. So games that Peterson started, it's 8 losses. Just think about that. With anyone else, where this Mets team could be. And you think of it last year, McGill and Peterson were dominant for this team when DeGrom was out and other guys were absent. And now Peterson is making the Mets lose ball games. Sounds a lot like, your Corey Oswald's, 2018 type. So, step up, Epler. Come on. So, yeah, that was an unfortunate game. Offensively, you didn't really have much. You had hits, but they couldn't drive him in. 3 runs, 11 hits. Second inning, Jeff McNeil had an RBI single to right to bring in Marte. And in the 6th, Tommy Pham had a sacrifice fly to right to bring in Lindor. And then in the 9th inning, Brandon Nimmo had an RBI single to bring in Jeff McNeil. So you had a total of 13 guys on base. Countless times you stranded them with runners in scoring position. You had that iconic part, bases loaded, Nimmo up at bat. Nimmo's count is favoring him. And then Francisco Alvarez gets picked off at first base because he's like 30,000 feet off of first base, like he's going to fucking steal. Yet, even if Nimmo gets a hit, he's not scoring. So I don't really know why that was. That was a boneheaded decision by Alvarez. And listen, he took responsibility. He took ownership. He admitted that was a bad move on him. But, think about it. Even if Nimmo walked, drove in a run, it could have easily set the table. Heck, Nimmo got a hit. 2 runs in. Changes the tone of this ballgame. So, yeah, that was a pretty stupid decision by Alvarez. And listen, he's young. He's learning. But that's the problem, is when you're really pushing a guy who's young out there as much. So, yeah, it is what it is. Mets lost this game by a score of 10-3. Peterson gets the loss. Big surprise there. And, Mets leave D.C. taking 2 of 4. You didn't lose the series, but you didn't win it. And I would have liked to see them win the series. So, yeah, it is what it is. Now, the Mets have new and bigger fish to fry as they are home. They are back at Citi Field for a 2-series homestand against the Tampa Bay Rays and the Cleveland Guardians. Tampa Bay Rays are coming in for a 3-game set, and they are red hot. They are the best team in baseball, best record-wise. Their offense, their lineup looks for me amazing. Their pitching, their starters, their bullpen. This is a great team, in my opinion. And as a Mets fan, you should be terrified because they are looking dominant. They are looking really, really, really good. So, like I said, obviously, the Mets are home for a nice homestand against the Tampa Bay Rays. You have Game 1 tonight at 7:10 Eastern Standard Time. Justin Verlander will be on the bump for the Mets. Verlander making his Citi Field debut. Obviously, 2 games. He's 1-1, 2.25 ERA, a 0.83 WHIP. He's only pitched 12 innings so far this season, giving up 7 hits, 12 strikeouts, 3 walks, and 2 homers. So, pretty good numbers for Verlander. Obviously, we'll see how he goes against this Tampa Bay Rays lineup. He hasn't faced many of these guys. He's only faced Brandon Lau and Christian Bethancourt in his career, and that's a small sample size. Like I said, he has really yet to face any of this Tampa Bay Rays lineup in his career. So, yeah, he will be on the bump for the Mets. Ideally, you'd like to see Verlander try and go out there and give you 6-7 innings of dominant baseball. I'm talking 6-7 innings, maybe 3 hits, a run, decent amount of strikeouts, limit the walks. Keep the Mets in this ballgame. And, obviously Verlander's going to need to do his job, but then the offense is going to need to do their job. For the Tampa Bay Rays, they will have Jalen Beeks. I think that's how you pronounce that name. And they are going with a bullpen game. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes for the Tampa Bay Rays. He's a lefty. I couldn't tell you much about him. Maybe he'll get an inning or 2 to start off. 20 innings pitched this season, 15 hits, 16 strikeouts, 10 walks, 2 homers. So we could see the walks are a little bit of an issue for him. So who knows? Maybe the Mets could score a run in the first inning. Like I said, the walks are an issue for him. If he's given up a lot of hits, maybe Nimmo gets on. Lindor, McNeil, and Alonso, they could actually do something. When was the last time the Mets have scored a run in the first inning? So we'll see how that goes. That is Game 1. Getting into Game 2, which is tomorrow's game. Obviously, the Mets will have Kodai Senga on the bump. Senga, not coming off the best start against Cincinnati. It's 4-2 on the season, 4.14 ERA, a 1.5 WHIP. He's pitched 37 innings so far this season, 33 hits, 43 strikeouts, 23 walks, and 6 homers. So you can see by that the walks are a big issue. The command and control of the strike zone is something that Senga is really having a lot of complexity with right now. And it's expected. Senga, he's new to American baseball. He's new to the MLB, and I think that's just acclimation. I definitely think a difference in balls is definitely kind of having an effect on him. So we'll see. Like I said, I wasn't expecting Senga to come in here rookie year and just dominate. I'm not expecting Senga to come in, a sub 152 ERA, rookie of the year, Cy Young competition. I never said that. If he can give me, like I said, a sub 350 ERA, pitch a little bit better, then I'll take that. I think he's definitely going to need some time to acclimate to the MLB. So Senga, he'll be on the bump for the Mets. Like I said, ideally, go 6 innings, 5 innings. If he keeps the pitch count low, if he finds the strike zone, I think you could definitely find success. We'll see how this Rays lineup does against the ghost forkball. If he can keep that pitch in the strike zone, borderline, I think you could expect a decent outing from Kodai Senga. And then obviously for the Tampa Bay Rays, their starter is to be determined, which I guess you'd like to see, maybe not. So we do not know who the Rays will be starting that game. I heard a couple other guys, but I believe they are hurt. So I think I could be Fleming or Chirinos. We will see. I doubt the Rays are going to go back-to-back games where they have their bullpen. But hey, you never know. I mean, their starting pitching has definitely been very, very dominant so far this season. So we'll see. And obviously, you look at the Mets, and their lineup has not been great. So you could definitely make the both of best worlds there. And then getting into Game 3 and the final game of this 3-game set, which is Thursday's game, the New York Mets will be playing at 1:10, and they will have Tyler McGill on the bump. Obviously, Big Drip is hopefully going to come in for a good outing. If he could pitch like how he did his last outing against the Nationals, I would be more than satisfied with that. McGill, obviously, so far in the season is 4-2, 4.02 ERA, 1.5 WHIP. He's pitched 40 and a third inning so far, 39 hits, 31 strikeouts, 22 walks, 5 homers. So we see the walks is definitely a concern for McGill also. His velo has went down a little bit, and that's something you could see. The fastball, slider, he still looks good there. Command of the strike zone's a little iffy. The velocity has been taken a tad. His stuff doesn't look as great as last year. So we're really going to have to see how McGill goes. I'm praying and I'm hoping that McGill can go out there and, like I said, 5-6 innings, maybe 3-4 hits, a run or two. You got to keep the Mets in the ballgame. So we'll see how the Mets can share there. Yeah. And obviously for the Tampa Bay Rays, they will have Josh Fleming, the lefty southpaw, who he's been struggling a little bit lately. No wins, no losses. 4.26 ERA, 1.4 WHIP. So far this season, he's pitched 31 and 2/3 innings pitched, given up 31 hits, 17 strikeouts, 14 walks, 3 homers. So we see the walks are a little bit of a concern there for him too, as well as the hits. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Coming into this series, obviously, the Tampa Bay Rays are hot. They're 20 games over 500, 31 and 11, 12 and 8 on the road. Couple guys to keep an eye out for. Yandy Diaz, he has been red hot. Randy Arozarena, he has been red hot. Arguably, you look at this Rays lineup, and they're all playing really well. They split the 4-game set against the Yankees, but this is the team that hits for a high average, as they lead the league in average at 275. Lead the league in runs scored, 260. Up there with hits, 395. Home runs, a big part of this team is they hit home runs. They have 81 home runs. The Mets have 41, so they have double what the Mets have. This is a big home run heavy hitting team. And it's not from 2-3 guys. It's from their whole lineup that's hitting home runs. I mean, they're 8, they're 9, they're 7 hitters. They're hitting home runs. They get on base. As I said, they slugging percentage of 508. Pretty good for a team. Pitching's pretty good, pretty decent. So, yeah, I mean, the Mets don't have expectations at all coming into this series. That could be a good thing. You can argue. I wouldn't be surprised if they get swept. I wouldn't be surprised if they take 1 of 3. I would be shocked if they won the series and took 2 of 3. I would be very, very surprised. Verlander tonight, I think you could. I think you have a good fight in that. Game 2 is to be determined, so we'll see how that goes. And then Game 3, McGill and Fleming. If McGill could pitch good, and the Mets can get on Fleming, maybe they could stand a chance. But I'm not very optimistic right now. So we'll see how that goes there. The Mets are 20-22, 7-8 at home. In terms of who's hot, really just Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo's been hitting the ball really well. Obviously, good average, amazing OBP. I mean, he's a league leader in arguably average OBP hits. He's getting on base. Nimmo's been phenomenal. He's the only guy that's really won. He's really been the only guy that's been consistent all season. Besides that Detroit series, he's been phenomenal, and he's arguably the Mets MVP by no doubt. So yeah, make an honorable mention of Marte and Canna. They looked pretty good. In the Washington series, they hit the ball. You saw Marte definitely looks a lot better. Both sides defensively, he looks alive in the outfield. Offensively, it looks like he has a pulse. He's hitting the ball hard and he's getting on base. And same for Canna. So maybe keep an eye out on those two guys. Lindor, Alonso haven't been playing great. You're gonna need them to wake up. Same for McNeil, Beatty, and Alvarez also too. So we'll see how that goes. So Mets, Rays tonight. Not super optimistic. I wouldn't be surprised if they get swept or only take 1 of 3. So we'll see. But what's going on, everyone? Alex, how we doing? Devin, Ryan, Mike says, are we any closer to bringing up Mauricio and Vientos? And yeah, I mean, that's a question that is really going to be discussed, that what is going on with Mauricio and Vientos. We know that they were discussing calling those guys up. And, I think it comes to the point right now is, what do you have to lose? Personally, I am kind of surprised. And I mean, from what it seems is that they want to call up Mauricio first. And I don't know if it's just he brings a little bit more energy. He just has a little bit more of an attitude than Vientos. And, that's definitely important on a winning team's culture right now. This culture doesn't seem great. They don't seem happy. And do you blame them? But yeah, I mean, with that said, arguably, I think Mauricio also has the part of, where would you put him? Is definitely going to be an interesting question. Obviously, he has not looked good at second base in the minor leagues. They put him there for a couple games, and he's made a decent amount of errors at second base. Put him in the outfield potentially. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be a shortstop, considering you have Lindor for the next 8, 9, 10 years. So where are you going to put him if you call him up, and arguably even down the line? So that's going to be a question. Even if you just DH him for a little bit, you definitely could put him in, a couple outfield spots, see how that works out. But I wouldn't be surprised if they get called up any day now. I think it comes to the point right now is, if you're not getting anything from Vogelbach and Pham, I'd rather lose with Vientos and Mauricio than Vogelbach and Pham. So, what do you really have to lose? Trey, Peter, Mark's here. Seth, what's going on? Gio, I appreciate you tuning in, man. Michael, I appreciate it. Yeah, the new thumbnail looks good. Shout out to Rob for making it. Kobe says, hey, Hayden, rough week for the Mets once again. When do you think things will turn around? Yeah, I mean, right now, and a lot of Mets fans have just been thinking, oh, well, next series. And honestly, I'm really tired of just filibustering the Mets' success. I said in the Red series, oh, wait for the DC series. Now the DC series is over. I mean, you played 4 series against crappy teams. The Tigers, the Rockies, the Reds, and the Nationals, and you went 4-9 in that. I mean, that's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. Good teams are supposed to beat up on bad teams, and the Mets failed that. So now you come to a bigger part. You're 4th in the division, and I don't even care about that because the division is so close. Like, everyone's like 2 games in with each other. And the only good team that's actually playing well is the Braves, and even them, they've had a rough week. So right now, it would have been nice to at least take 3 or 4 in DC. You're 20-22 right now. You're 2 games under. You're going up against one of the best teams in baseball. with the Rays series, it'll be interesting. Personally, I don't think they'll win. I think they'll either get swept or take 1 of 3. However, you can make the argument there's no expectations, so maybe that's a good thing for them. Heck, maybe there's a chance they take 2 or 3. You're back at home, maybe guys will settle in. You never know. But I'm not optimistic with this team right now where I can make that analysis. When will things turn around? I don't know. But when it comes to the point of how much longer are Mets fans and, how long the Mets should wait, personally, I'd give them to Memorial Day. That's about 60 games. I'd give them to Memorial Day. And if we're seeing the same results, you're going to need change. And whether that's just benching guys, Vogelbach and Pham full-time, whether that's starting to hold people accountable by firing them in Jeremy Barnes or Hefner, or God, I say Billy Epler. Things are not looking great, and nobody is doing anything about it. That is the biggest concern right now is Buck Showalter, Billy Epler. No one is holding anyone accountable. I love Buck, and I think he was a big part to the Mets' success last year. The players love him, but I don't care about last year. I care about this year. And I don't know if Buck kind of had the mentality of, oh, everyone did well last year, so he's taking a little bit of a step back, and maybe that's not a good thing. But Buck looks really lost with this team right now, with this lineup, with his bullpen management, which is something he's always been, but still, it's a little bit worse, I feel. And I would say you lost a decent amount of games solely to Buck this season. I don't understand really this clubhouse atmosphere and vibes right now. I don't think they have good vibes. And I just think this team essentially just doesn't care that they're losing. They don't show any emotion. I mean, you see McNeil, grounding out to second base. He gets thrown out and then he throws off his helmet and screams like, Buck. But no one's showing emotion. They all just go out there and, they ground out and they're like, ooh. But, you're starting to see it a little bit from some guys like Alvarez. He didn't look happy. They don't look happy, but speak up. And that's the thing with Buck Showalter. I love him, but his post-game shows, interviews, they need a different attitude. Because he's going out there defending everyone. When he goes out there and he says, oh, well, you can't win ball games if you don't score runs. Yeah, no shit. Last I checked, and the sky is blue. It comes to the point where I'm not saying he needs to trash talk his players or be a little negative, and maybe he does that in private. So who knows? But I think he needs to start being a little bit more strict and have a sense of awareness right now with this team. Epler, everyone on this channel knows I think Billy Epler's a fucking moron. I'm tired of repeating myself with Epler. Failed countless times last year's trade deadline. This past offseason, didn't bring in a power bat, invested in an old rotation, and he trusts this roster right now, which he's a fucking idiot. So we'll see how things go. But yeah, back to everything else. Captain Morgan, I appreciate it. Good hat. Tommy Pham needs to stop getting starts over Escobar. And I mean, yeah, that's if only Cal, you could call the Mets and tell them that. I don't know why Tommy Pham is in this lineup. He's 0 for like his last 50. Boo, he hit the ball like hard twice. Well, yeah, they're outs. I don't care. Baseball's a result-oriented game. I don't see the fascination with Pham. He had, like 2 good games this season? The one in Miami and Detroit. Otherwise, he's been unplayable, unwatchable. So, give me 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, Alex says, what is the biggest issue with the Mets right now? I mean, where to start? I mean, I could talk to you about the pitching. I could talk to you about how the bullpen is overtaxed. I could talk to you about the lineup. I could talk to you about the incompetence from our GM, the lack of sense of awareness. I mean, where to start? I don't think Showalter and Epler are on the same page, and I don't think they are either. And I discussed it yesterday, and I'll say it again. I don't think Epler and Showalter, and even Cohen, I don't think those 3 guys are all in the same agreement. I think you have Cohen on this side of the room, you have Epler here, and you have Buck over there. I don't think they agree as much as a lot of people think. I think if you look at it right now, you saw it yesterday where, Buck Showalter batted Tommy Pham cleanup. Couple series ago where you had Escobar at second, Canna at first. And I think that maybe kind of Buck Showalter kind of trying to say, hey, I need more help. I need new guys. I need help. I need Mauricio. I need Vientos. I think, but that could be potentially what Buck is trying to say without actually saying it. I think he's trying to show Epler, what do you want me to do? I can't win with what we have right now at this moment. And obviously Epler is, seemingly not, comprehending that, considering that Vientos and Mauricio are still in the minor leagues. So, whatever. Don't let him agree and, finish the season in fourth place. Talking Mets with Rob. What's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in. Captain Morgan says, who is making the decision to bat Tommy Pham cleanup and fifth back-to-back days? I am not as down on Pham as some, but when he plays, it should be the bottom of the order. Can we also get Alvarez out of the 9 hole? That's screams Canna's name, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know why Pham is constantly in the lineup every other day. I really don't know. And I hate to say I don't know on this channel, but I don't know why. I don't see any potential from him, and I don't know what the Mets see from him either. When it comes to Alvarez, Alvarez has been struggling a little bit lately. Obviously, he's been having a hard time hitting with runners in scoring position. That's something that's kind of been a concern. We'll see how he does with that down the line. But right now, I wouldn't be against how this lineup needs to be shuffled more. This lineup is not shuffled good. Everyone's in a weird spot. I don't like McNeil in the 3rd spot. I don't like Alvarez batting 9. I don't like Pham batting 5th. But it comes to a point where, what else? What choice do you have? Nicholas says, I'm assuming you mean Carrasco comes back. Is that the end of Peterson? It better be. I'd rather go out there with Carrasco. I think you have a chance with him rather than Peterson. Kobe says, Brandon Nimmo is playing very well. I love his hustle. Yeah, he's arguably, one of my favorite players now. He goes out there, he hustles, regardless what the score is. He comes out there, whether it's, 10-0, the opposing team, or close ball game, he's always hustling out there. He's playing like, he's trying to get that walk-off hit. So, we'll see how that goes. Cal says the Mets need to stop starting David Peterson. The dude is clearly not an MLB pitcher. Put him in AAA or get rid of him. And that's what they did. They put him in AAA. Jed says Mad Max. Yeah, hopefully we see that. Cal, the problem is how much better is Carrasco really? Yeah, right now he, like I said, he had a decent outing in AAA. Small sample size, of course. But like I said, I'd much rather roll out there with Carrasco than Peterson. At least with Carrasco, you have an idea of what you're going to get. When will the Mets call up Vientos and Mauricio, says Cal. Hopefully right now, but they won't. Gio says sign. It's the Mets season so far. Trey says I have 0 words. Change needs to happen sooner rather than later, or we can kiss the season goodbye. Yeah, well, you're absolutely right, Trey. Nicholas says good news for you guys. Scherzer looked pretty good. Yeah, he did. But that I'd like to see him expand on that. So we'll see how that goes. Alex says this team doesn't have the fire that they had last year in every game last year. I had hope that they would come back this year down a run. I have no hope in them. They look defeated. Yeah, this Mets team looks horrible. Completely different team than last year. It's the same team as last year, but we're getting the completely different results than last year, and it's very upsetting. Very upsetting. And I'm essentially just tired of coming on here and saying the same 5 things. The Mets' answers are right in front of them, but Epler is just too blind to understand and comprehend what the issue is. And let's be realistic. I think he has to know what it is. He just chooses not to act on it. Captain Morgan says Brandon Nimmo is always available, accountable, and candid. If there's a future captain in the Mets' current clubhouse, whether it's official, yeah, I agree. It should be him. Lifelong Met, it's going to be a Met for his full MLB career, and Yeah, I mean, he's having a great season. Definitely turned a new corner in his career this year. I'm expecting big things for him this season. I think he'll be an all-star, Gold Glove contender, arguably Silver Slugger contender. So yeah, I mean, I love Nimmo. Great vibes, good personality, and he's a good ball player. Yeah, I know. Cal agrees. Yeah, Senga has a nice ghost forkball. It is nasty, but it just has a hard time finding the zone because he uses that as a put away pitch. But then it's if he's gonna throw it outside the zone, then 3-2 count. You're the hitter. Well, what do you expect? Ghost forkball out of the zone. Trey says it's not like that. It's not like you're that far under 500 if the pitcher can start to perform and the hitting continues. They're still in it, even if that means wild card. And like I said, I don't care for the division. As long as you get in the wild card, that's all I care about. But right now, I mean, this team is just allergic to 500. I mean, that's just point blank the case. Sorry, I keep itching my nose. My freaking allergies. Matthew says, how is Guillorme still on this team over Vientos and Mauricio? I really don't know. Guillorme offers nothing. He doesn't offer power. His swing looks absolutely horrible. It makes me nauseous. He has like a weird ass swing. Like he'll stand here and he'll bring his freaking hand. I'm like, what are you doing? Like he looks so weird. Another slap the ball guy, and the Mets have 1,000 of those. So what's the point of keeping him in the lineup? Yeah, he offers nothing. And honestly, his defense I mean, last year it was good, but we haven't seen any like elite caliber plays yet. And I don't care if he goes out there and makes every single play. If he's gonna go 0 for 4. Strand guys in scoring position and strike out and just put up shitty at bats, what's the point? Once again, the $1,000,000 question. Why did they move Chavez? He was a solid pitching coach, says Morgan. Yeah, I don't really understand why it was a promotion, but I mean, it really shouldn't have a huge impact. He's a bench coach, so he should still have a say, but maybe Jeremy Barnes is not getting through with them. Carlos, what's going on? He says, great coverage, Hayden. Bring up the rookies and see what happens. I'm optimistic. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm trying to stay optimistic right now, but very hard to right now. Very, very hard. It's time Atlanta goes on a bad streak, starting with us. Yeah, I mean, the Braves definitely, they've had a rough week. The Toronto series wasn't too great. Their bullpen has been looking really, really bad. They've been blowing a lot of games, and like I said, the Mets are having perfect opportunities to, get advantage, and they're just not taking them. So, the Mets will look back and, come September or something, and regardless how the rest of the season goes, they're going to look back at, this time frame in May and say, oh, wow, all 162 games matter. It's not, we're only game 30 in. All of them matter. Even game 1. Haley says, question. That's actually, question. Do you think Mark Canha is struggling because of the pitch clock? He is starting to come out of his shell, though. Yeah, I will say Canha definitely looks a little bit better this past week than a lot of the season. I think that's a possibility. We do know that he said in Milwaukee, when he was obviously charged with the pitch clock violation, and he came out after the game and said, he likes to take his time in between bats. And after every pitch, he likes to look at the jumbo board, the scoreboard, and see the velo on it. So he could, make his assumption on what the pitch was and kind of what he's getting into. Obviously, he doesn't have that luxury now, or as much. He has to be quicker. I don't know. But when it comes to Canha, everyone else is adjusting to it. You have to adjust to it too. And I hate to bash on him here, but, in spring training, when he was in Port St. Lucie and in Florida, maybe he should have focused on it more instead of going out to restaurants and, vlogging all of his food experiences. Just a thought. And no, that Haley, that is a really good point. I agree. I don't know. Maybe, but maybe he's getting used to it now. We'll see. Some players linger, and that's the thing. Some players are affected and some didn't. Trey says they aren't pitching. They don't slug. They desperately need Scherzer, Verlander, and Senga to get on a run. Yeah, Trey, you just summed it up there. Kobe says, let's say the Mets lose. Kobe says, let's say the Mets lose. Let's say the Mets lose both series this homestand. What should happen to the coaching staff? I was speaking about that last night. Yeah. I think if you get swept, if you go 0 for 6, I think you fire Epler. Barnes gone, Hefner gone. I think it really depends. Like I said, I was speaking about it with Rob, and we came to the consensus that whatever the issue is this series, that job title is going to be open. So if the pitching's bad, Hefner goes. If the offense is bad, Barnes goes. If they're both bad, both of them go. But if the Mets are going to go out there and play like shit, go 0 for 6, I think you got to release Appler. And I think you got to fire Barnes, Hefner. Listen, I love Hefner. I love what he's done for this Mets team throughout his time with DeGrom, pitching development. But I think it may be time for a new part. Barnes, Jeremy Barnes is gonna gotta go. I don't think the Mets will fire Buck. I think Cohen has too much respect for Showalter. And if you fire Showalter midseason, you can have Chavez replace him, and he has no managerial experience. So you're going to be in a dilemma there. If there's anything big that's going to happen, regardless if this team continues to play around 500, maybe 5 or so games over, it's going to happen in the offseason. Unless they just keep losing, then you are going to have to start firing guys and just change things up. Nicholas says, I could see you guys calling up Gary Sanchez soon. That's a possibility. Like I said, defensively not the best. Offensively, he's hitting for power. And if that's what the Mets lack, I'm honestly desperate enough. We'll see how Michael Perez does. I mean, he's not this elite catcher. He's always been a below average, subpar catcher throughout his whole career. So I'm not really taking too much into that. So just, the 4 for 4, enjoy it. But like I said, I'm not expecting a whole lot from him. Otherwise, I wouldn't be against calling him up. Breaking reports, Omar Narvaez should be coming back pretty soon. Let me pull up Twitter quickly. There was reports. There was an injury update that they did give. So I would like to share that with you guys. Former Mets draft pick Kumar Rocker is having Tommy John surgery. Well, the Mets dodged a bullet there. So in terms of, I posted an hour ago on Twitter, live stream today at 5. Please feel free to tune with any comments and questions. It was an hour ago. It's May 16th. Today is May 16th. So in regards to the injuries, Carlos Carrasco, we had the bone spur issue in his right elbow. He is going to start Friday. He made his rehab start. He looked good. He is going to be starting for the Mets on Friday. Jose Quintana, the left-handed pitcher, he's recovering from rib surgery, has had a CT scan Friday and could be cleared to start ramping up. So good to see him start participating in baseball activities. Maybe you could see him come back late June, July. And then catcher Omar Narvaez, who had a left calf strain, will begin a rehab assignment late this week. So obviously Narvaez hasn't really, been around. Obviously he played the first week in baseball. And then obviously, he got hurt the first week. And then that's when they kind of had to call up Alvarez because, Nito was pretty shitty. And then you have Alvarez and, so, we'll see how that goes. But, I could see the possibility of calling up Gary Sanchez. I wouldn't be surprised if Tomas Nino's days are coming to an end. Like I said, Alvarez is up. If they put up Perez for a little bit, and then you get Narvaez back, and you have Narvaez, Alvarez, Perez, taxi squad type thing, and Nito's not doing anything. Offensively, he's blind, doesn't offer anything. He's one of the worst bats, worst approaches in baseball. And defensively, he hasn't been great. So if his defense doesn't, at least make up for his hitting, what's the point in keeping him? He's a liability for this Mets team. And if that's the point, I'd release him. Why did they extend him this offseason? I think Epler maybe thought that they would have needed a little bit more time with Alvarez, but maybe he was proven a little bit wrong with that. So, I guess we're going to kind of have to see how things can go there. Matthew says, I agree. The pitch clock hasn't changed baseball at all. The quality of the game hasn't changed, nor have the stats increased. Yeah, and that's an interesting thing that you bring up, Matthew. I mean, personally, for me personally, if you guys don't know, I am not big on the pitch clock. I'm not super keen on it. I just don't like it. Point is, I feel that the games are very rushed, and it feels rushed. I get it. Maybe if you're sitting home watching on TV, sure. But, when I was at spring training games, I'd look away for 2 seconds and so much. And an inning went by and I'm like, are you kidding? When I see games that are an hour and 57 minutes, I mean, that's just sad. That's a joke. And you're trying to expand the game, but you're trying to make games 2 minutes long. I mean, I could watch a movie that's longer than an hour and 57 minutes. I don't like that. And I understand the point of the pitch clock was to speed up the games. Okay. I think the point of the pitch clock was to make attempts on boosting offense, which it hasn't. It boosted up offense for the first week, and then everything else went back, and then, it went back down to what it was. Average is still the same. OPS, OBP, slugging is still the same as last year, and arguably is still bad. And still going down. The only stat that is actually going up is stolen bases, but that's a mixture of the pitch clock, the pickoffs, and the bigger bases. So that's a mixture of 3 things. So I don't like the pitch clock. Do I think they'll get rid of it? Probably not. I wouldn't. Maybe they could kind of alternate it, reform it a little bit. Instead of 15 and 20 seconds, it's 25 and 30. It just feels so rushed. And I don't like it. MLB wants to expand the game. And Michael asks, is MLB dying? Baseball wants to expand the game. Yet, there's a million other ways that you could expand baseball. How about the blackouts? Financially, how much of a burden it is for young college people like me. We're broke. And, maybe you don't charge, $1,000 for 2 hot dogs and a beer. I think it starts with that. There's a lot of other ways MLB can go after things. Like Captain said, MLB should have more dollar dog nights, financially affordable, and the blackouts, promote better and expand on social media. And that is what baseball does compared to other sports. You have way too many casuals in baseball. And all the other sports, football, basketball, hockey, have more diehards. Baseball should have more promotion events, like dollar dog nights. We saw Philly did it. The Blue Jays did it. Tell me the attendance for those games. I guarantee you they were probably sellouts. Really good. I think financially affordable is a huge thing. And it's all sports, but baseball, it's a little bit absurd with some of the things. Tickets are absolutely crazy. But then food. Listen, beer, alcohol, that's one thing. But a hot dog being $7, are you kidding? It should be $2.50. And, listen, I'm not trying to be, Mr. Economics, Mr. Financial, but I guarantee you, if they lowered the price for food, they would probably make more of a profit because more people would go to games and more people would buy. Whenever I go to games, I always hear people complain about how much there was, how much food was, or how much a souvenir was. I go to spring training, I walk down, I have cool nachos in my hands. People walk past me. How much was that? Oh, I'm assuming that costed $1 million. And I'm like, oh, it's $15. And they're like, oh, yeah, go figures. MLB has a million other opportunities to expand the game. Blackouts, huge. Promote better. I don't see MLB promoting on social media. Look, how they do. Patrick Mahomes has it with State Farm, and they have all these cool ads and commercials. I don't see any baseball or MLB ads or commercials on TV. I see it on MLB TV, but, nothing else. Do I think baseball is a dying sport? I would argue so. I think if you look at it, the average age viewership, I want to say was 40, 41, which is pretty bad compared to all the other sports where it was 28, 27 for hockey, football, basketball. And baseball is only getting older. And, those generations are not going to be around a whole lot longer. And then the new generations are not getting into baseball. I can tell you that. Baseball has way too many casuals and people that just don't care. You know, like I see people, you know, yesterday or 2 days ago, I saw someone with the Jazz Chisholm Jr. jersey because I live in Florida. And I'm like, oh, you know, I like the jersey. You a Marlins fan? Do you like Chisholm? And he's like, no, I don't. I just like the jersey. It looks cool. Is Chisholm a good player? And I'm like, I guess he's decent. So it just goes to show you, you know, you see someone with a LeBron jersey, boom, they'll tell you anything. A Brady jersey, boom, they'll tell you anything. Baseball has too many casuals. And do I think it's a dying sport? Yeah, I mean, statistically it is. And I don't think the pitch clock is helping at all. You know, viewership on TV, I couldn't tell you. From what I watch games, you know, Padres, yeah, they do well. Dodgers, you know, the usual teams, but the teams that it's not helping, there's nothing. And it's not increasing offense. So Trace is really tired of watching a poor managed team. I'm not excited to watch a Mets game anymore. And I'll tell you, I mean, yeah, I'll tell you. Last year, I was excited to watch the Met game every night. I'd come back from class or work or just sit home. And I'm like, yeah, the Mets are on tonight. Let's go. I woke up today and I'm like, oh, the Mets are playing. Damn it. I'm not excited to watch the Mets right now. And, you know, really goes to show you. Doesn't matter who the owner is, how much money you have. If you're the richest owner, cheapest owner in baseball, what matters is you have intelligence and the competence of a GM and a front office to make moves and make what's right. And the Mets, well, they're not doing that. Explosive says we might need to retool for a year or two and develop pitching. And that's the thing. This team, you know, continues to draft shortstops and catchers. And they don't learn. Maybe they should draft some starting pitching and some outfielders. Like $1 million thing right there. Jacob, what's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in. Haley says, can we get an update on Epler's status employment? Hopefully he will be unemployed soon. Stoney says, hi, bro, do you think the Mets need to sell when the deadline comes? I don't think they're going to sell. I think they need to get guys, but is Epler going to be a dumbass and pull the bullshit he did last trade deadline? You know, at this year's trade deadline, no Darren Ruffs, no Tyler Naquins, no Daniel Vogelbachs. I don't want Epler to go with the mentality of, oh, this hitter has an advanced WOBA of 380 against left-handed pitching. No. I want them to get proven players. Not, I don't care about this fucking money. Epler tries to play like Moneyball, but then he spends it on the wrong fucking players and he overpays them. Last year's trade deadline was a joke. This offseason was a joke. Look at what other teams have done. Last year's trade deadline. The Padres got Soto and Bell. The Mets got you. This offseason, the Braves got Sean Murphy, who leads the NL in RBIs. Who did the Mets get offensively? Tommy Pham, who's batting like 190 and has like 2 hits. So, wake up, Epler. Wake the fuck up. Michael, what's going on? He says, you think the Mets will win 2 in a row at all this month? May 16th? I'm not very confident. I am not very confident. Explosive said Cohen tried to expand the Mets with the Super Bowl commercial. Yeah, but for ticket sales. And you think anyone's going to go to the games if they're playing like this? WBC is expanding. Yeah, I'll give the WBC that. I think in this country, it's not as big in some other countries like the Dominican, Puerto Rico, even the Czech Republic, who are a bunch of firefighters and teachers, which is pretty cool. I think it did a decent part in in the U.S., but hopefully next year it'll do more, or next WBC. Jacob says, I think Buck is y'all's problem. You guys have nothing to lose. Call up Ronnie and Vientos. Yeah, I agree. Like I said before, Jacob, I'd much rather the Mets call up Mark Vientos and Ronnie Mauricio and lose with them than lose with Vogelbach and Pham and all the other morons. So at this rate, like you said, what do you have to lose? Nothing. Captain Morgan agrees. So yeah, like I said, we're really gonna have to see how it's gonna go down the line. But yeah, if anyone else has any more comments, questions, concerns, feel free to drop them in the comment section below, and we will read them. Otherwise, probably gonna call it a stream in a little bit. So yeah, we will see how things go in regards to that. Check Twitter. Anything breaking could happen. Obviously, we saw that Kuma Rocker will be having Tommy John surgery. So yeah, I mean, otherwise we will see how things go with the Mets. Obviously, like I said, emotions are not high. As you can tell, I'm not really that happy about tonight. I'll watch it. Like I said, it's JV, his first start at Citi Field, but no one's acting like it. And, why do you think that is? Because they're not playing well. And I'll tell you, I think tonight's attendance will be decent. I don't think it's going to be amazing. I think it'll be decent because it's, Verlander home for a first home start. But I wouldn't be surprised if you hear a lot of boos and low attendance tomorrow and Thursday. Like when they say the Mets lineup, I wouldn't be surprised if there's boos. If the Mets starting pitching gives up a run or two in the first inning, when they get off, they're going to hear boos. Even if Pete, Lindor strike out with guys on, they're going to get booed. And, I'll tell you, I think when it comes down to it, play better. I mean, I know that seems vague and you could take a lot from it, but they're playing like absolute shit. And I'll tell you, and that's a good point. Cal says, should the fans boo the players? Or should fans boo the players? And I really don't have a problem with it, essentially. Some may disagree and some may agree, and that's totally fine. I think the same way you cheer for them when they're playing well it could be the same mentality of thinking when they're not playing well. We pay their contracts. We pay Lindor. We pay Alonso. The fans. And if they're not going to play well, they should have the right to know. You saw a lot of that in 2021. Baez, Lindor got booed a lot. McCann. And you've been seeing this year. You've been hearing a lot of boos. A lot of boos. So far, you haven't had a whole lot of home games, but I've heard, Vogelbach's been booed a decent amount. Pham. A couple of the starting pitchers when they would give up runs in the first inning. I've heard a couple boos for Lindor. Escobar, I think he's probably got booed the most this year. So I would say yes, the fans have every right to show their emotion that they're not happy. The same way that the fans show their emotion on Twitter to Billy Epler and Buck Showalter, they should have every right. And I mean, I'll tell you, if the Mets are going to continue to play like this, they're not going to get anyone in the ballpark. Their attendance is going to be horrible, and all you're going to hear is boos and negativity at the games. So, Cohen could throw, 30 more commercials on for ticket sales. If they're not playing well, no one's going to go to the games. Tell you, I'm not. I live in Florida. You think I'm going to waste my money to go up and see them, lose like 3 games to like a cruddy team, go like 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position and have their starting pitching go like 3 1/3, giving up 5 runs? I'm not going to waste my time seeing that. And I get it, you stick with your team when they're bad, which I'm absolutely doing. I mean, I've been around for 2020, 2021. I've been alive since 2002. I've seen this, since I've been alive, 2002 of January, I've seen this team at its worst and at its best. When was its best? You could make arguments 2015, 2022. It's a little young for 06. Regular season of 07 and 08, besides the last 2 weeks, of course. So, yeah, I would say the fans have every right. But you wouldn't, you're seeing a lot of Mets fans go after Buck and Epler on Twitter. I wouldn't be surprised if Cohen starts to get a little next. You see Cohen going on Twitter with the fans. When it comes down to Cohen, listen, I think that's a story for another day. I think he's done great things with this team, but I think he should delete Twitter. I think that would probably be something I would be in favor of. But, one thing that kind of pissed me off what Cohen said on Twitter was that 101 games won last year justifies this team. And I don't like the mentality of using last year to determine the future success. So that is he going to sit here and tell me that Epler and Buck's job is safe because they won 101 games last year? Well, that's a dumb way of thinking. Explosive says, when Diaz got hurt, it overshadowed Cohen visiting Team Japan to see Ohtani. If Diaz didn't get hurt, that Cohen visit news would have been everywhere. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah, like I said, when it comes to Ohtani, I mean, we could sit here for 30,000 years and discuss Ohtani to the Mets. Who knows? Maybe people say that's why Epler's still here. I'll say if the only reason Cohen brought in Epler was to obtain one player, then that's pretty dumb. But we'll see. Stoney says, I hope Peterson will not pitch for the Mets again. I don't think he will. I don't think he will pitch at all for the rest of this. Well, we'll see. But I don't think he'll start anytime soon. So, yeah, otherwise, we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, probably going to call it a stream here. Like I said, if anyone has any more comments, questions, concerns, please feel free to drop them in the comment section below. The Mets and the Tampa Bay Rays are playing tonight, 7:10 Eastern Standard Time. Justin Verlander, JV, making his Mets City Field debut, obviously against the Tampa Bay Rays. 7:10 Eastern Standard Time will be the first pitch. Yeah, the Mets are definitely optimists, not high. Emotions are not high. A lot of negativity with this team. And hey, I don't blame them at all. I don't blame the fans for being quietly upset at all. So, yeah, Mets, Rays tonight. That's all I got. Please, everyone, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, subscribe, tell your friends about this channel. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. And yeah, like I said, if you're watching this on replay, let me know. Thank you for staying for the hour and 8 minutes. You're a legend. Pretty hype. Yeah, Mets, Rays coming out. I may do a couple game streams within the next couple days, weeks. I know I did 2 for the Reds, and it did pretty well viewership wise, and you guys, were pretty good in the chat, and it was a pretty fun stream. I will probably do them with someone. I don't know if I have the patience sitting here alone for 2 hours. I do like putting the audio on for the games on my computer. I think that is pretty cool. So keep an eye out for that. I may do. If the Mets start to play well, then maybe I'll start streaming the games. Otherwise, if they're gonna, put up, these bullshit numbers and play like shit, what's the point of me sitting here for 2 hours wasting my time to see them lose? Obviously, talk to you guys is great, but I don't want to have a mental breakdown watching the Mets. So yeah, otherwise, that's all I have for today. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. LFGM, let's go Mets. Things are not looking well now, but I think right now tonight you could easily send a message. Could easily start over again. I know I've said that about 30,000 times so far the past couple weeks, but win a series, win a ball game, show life, fire Billy Epler. Yeah, otherwise, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. LFGM, let's go Mets. Till next time, baseball fans. See ya.